All right, with Justin Haley's shock announcement, it was a shock, right? That he is leaving Kaulig Racing at the end of 2023 and joining Rick Ware Racing on a multi-year contract starting in 2024. That now opens up the number 31 car at Kaulig for 2024. And the biggest question is now, like, who's going to take that seat? Because I don't think that many people really thought Justin Haley would ever have left Kaulig. He's been there for 5 years. It seems like the team wanted to sort of build around him. He's had okay runs here and there. He's not a guy that's going to ever be a Cup champion. But he is a guy that can get you some pretty decent runs, maybe more often than not. Gets into a top 10 every now and then, sometimes lucks into a top 5, I should say. But him throwing this twist into NASCAR silly season certainly opens up the possibilities for Kaulig. And I think there's really 3 options, and we'll get into those in just a second. But him going over to Rick Ware Racing, obviously, Rick Ware Racing has put more emphasis on trying to become a legitimate team, right? In the last few years, they're running exponentially better this year. They now have an alliance with Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, and Justin Haley cited that as being one of the main reasons he wanted to go over to Rick Ware Racing and why he felt comfortable signing a multi-year deal with them. He said Brad was involved in some of the recruitment over there. So, yeah, I think Justin Haley's looking at this as a long-term play to potentially end up at RFR at some point, or RK, what is it, Roush Fenway, RFK. Wow, my brain completely locked up there, and I went back to Roush Fenway Racing with the old RFR comment. Whatever, moving on. So, him leaving throws a wrench into silly season, like I said, and now Kaulig has an option to, I think, take one of 3 drivers, and we'll get into them real quick. Number 1 on the list, and these are in no particular order. Number 1 on the list, first up, Chandler Smith. He's already in the Kaulig Racing stable. He's an Xfinity Series driver for them. He has 1 Xfinity Series win so far this year, Richmond earlier in the year. He talks about himself like he's won multiple NASCAR Cup Series races already. I'm not sure if they want a guy with an absolute atrocious neck beard in their cars, but he has one if they want it. He's very much hyped up by the people around him. Somebody that has a spotter podcast on Dirty Mo Media loves to talk about how Justin Haley is going to be, or not Justin Haley, Chandler Smith is going to be a future Cup champion at some point. I don't necessarily see it. His parents have bought him rides at every level of racing, so there's no reason to think that they can't do that now for the Cup Series as well. Kaulig is looking for money to come from the driver that's going to take over that number 31 seat. Chandler Smith can bring some money, like he got an Xfinity ride with Kaulig for a reason, and it's because he brings some money along with him. And, I mean, this kid needs to go to the Cup Series. He needs a Cup Series salary. He's 21. He's got 2 kids already. He's popping kids out so fast, he needs a bigger salary to support all of it. So, I think I think Chandler Smith is an option for Kaulig Racing going forward. And like I said, he's already in-house there as well. Option number 2, and I think the one that makes the most sense, would be Austin Hill. The multi-time Xfinity race winner is about to complete his 2nd full season in Xfinity with Richard Childress Racing. He's made no secret that he's ready to move up. He's running select races this year for Beard Motorsports in the number 62 car in the Cup Series. He brings a substantial amount of funding with him as well, and as Kaulig is looking for a driver with funding, he's a guy that they can definitely go after and put in that car. And like I said, he's already won 4 races this year. He won multiple races last year. He's contending for a championship. He's a guy that knows how to get it done. I think he's 26 years old at this point as well. He's a guy that is a lot more mature than what you're going to get out of a Chandler Smith, and I think that's an avenue you need to go down as you're trying to grow this team up, which is what Kaulig is trying to do. Cup Series owners became infatuated with like 20 and 21-year-old drivers in recent years, and it takes them a long time to really mature and win races, like 100 races. That's a long time. Not to say Austin Hill won't take 100 races to win one, but you're getting a guy that's going to be able to problem solve and think through things a lot more maturely than you are with like a 21-year-old in Chandler Smith. So Austin Hill, I think, is definitely an option that they should seriously consider, and Bob Pocker said that he seems to be the name that keeps getting tossed around for this 31 car in recent days, or weeks even. So yeah, I think that's probably the move that Kaulig should make. Option number 3 is obviously the hottest name in NASCAR right now, and that is Australian Supercars driver Shane van Gisbergen. Obviously coming off of his maiden Cup start and maiden win, all in the same race at Chicago Street Course a few weeks back. He's V8 Sleuth in Australia said that it's basically a foregone conclusion that Van Gisbergen is leaving supercars at the end of this year, moving to NASCAR next year. His team down in Australia, Triple Eight Engineering, have already said that they'll release him from his contract at the end of this year so he can pursue NASCAR. He does have an Australian Supercars contract through the end of 2024, but like I said, they're willing to let him go out of that. He's a guy that if you sign him at Kaulig Racing and you keep AJ Allmendinger in the Cup Series next year, they become the best 1-2 duo on road courses and street courses in NASCAR. If Kaulig could just make those cars a touch bit better, they could probably not sweep the races, but they could win a couple of them and get themselves locked in the playoffs. And then you let him try to figure out ovals over the course of the season. But I'm not sure if Kaulig wants to put all of their eggs into that road course basket. If they do, SVG's out there. How much money does he bring? I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure if he can convince Red Bull to try to fund this project for him, which would be pretty cool to see the Red Bull branding back into NASCAR. He obviously already has ties with GM because he races for the GM homologation team down in Australia, races the Camaro around there, and which I don't even think you can buy Camaros in Australia yet, which is very bizarre. And GM in Australia is just called GM Specialty Vehicles now, and since they killed Holden. Side note, but that's what it is what it is. I think that he's a guy that you maybe take a serious look at, because I'm not really sure where else he can go right now based on the whole charter situation, unless, of course, like Trackhouse can work out like a leasing deal with Live Fast to get them to lease a 78 charter to Trackhouse next year so they can run a third car, basically that Project 91 car. Either way, I think those are the three options that Kaulig Racing has going forward. Austin Hill makes the most sense, and then it's a toss-up between the other two, because they're both basically coming in as rookies. Chandler obviously has more oval experience. Van Gisbergen's already a Cup Series winner, so you can try to weigh those against one another. But let me know in the comments, who do you think that they should sign? Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, and Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at BreakHardBlog.